Here we've got a bunch of changes. I have the 110 volt system in, got the heater in, got a whole bunch of stuff that I did this weekend. I'm just now getting some video of. But first thing, if we look right here, this line going up, that's my last positive terminal. This is actually going to the battery charger for the 72 volt charger for my motor. That was new. I used to have to clamp them on. I don't know what you can see it, but this battery terminal is pretty chewed up because of it. But now it's hardwired in there. If we look up here, this same white wire that we've got coming up here, that actually goes down to my 12 volt charger and connects into my accessory battery there. Here, of course, if you've been watching along, you'll notice the red is something new. This is my heating system, which I'm still working to kind of perfect here. But up here, we've got the pump. Down here is the heater. Now the heater runs off AC, so it'll actually only heat the fluid while a car is plugged in. The pump, this is 12 volt DC, so this will run and be able to circulate the fluid even after the car is running and it's not plugged in. Now, of course, heater heats the fluid. The pump here pumps fluid into the... Oh, I wasn't even looking there, was I? Now the pump will pump the fluid down into the heater. The heater comes out, goes into the firewall to go into the heater core. Cooler fluid comes out, comes back up, goes into the pump, goes into the heater, so on and so forth. I think that's about all the new stuff up here. Actually, now that I'm looking, if you can see this tube right here, that tube comes down to right there. Now that's kind of my air intake for the engine compartment. I noticed after a few 10-mile rides, the motor and controller got actually pretty warm. With all this vinyl that I have up in the front, it's actually blocking any airflow into the engine compartment. So I put that little tube in, and I put it in at that angle, so I figured rain wouldn't get in quite as easy, where it curves up from the bumper there. So that way I can still get some air in. I haven't tested a lot on any big rides, anything with some mileage, so I don't know how much of a difference it's making, but since then, you know, they haven't warmed up at all. So I think that's good. And if we come around to the trunk, here's some of the good stuff here. This is my 110 junction box. So the 110 line comes in, goes into the junction box, splits off in there to my 12 volt accessory charger. It also goes to my 72 volt charger. And one of these wires here also runs up to the heater in the engine compartment. This is actually mounted now, which is very good. It's in there pretty tight, and it's on this rubber mat. I don't know how well you can see it back there, but this line right here, this is my last positive terminal in the pack, or excuse me, the last negative terminal in the pack. So this is hardwired in now too. And right here, that is the extension cord that goes out to the gas cap, and it's one of the retractable cords. So you see it comes right out here, and if we follow that line, it goes into the garage where it's plugged in right now. But all you have there is just your typical socket. You can plug into any regular 110, and when you're done, all you gotta do is give a good yank on that cord there, and it'll roll up with that retracting holder, mounter device, whatever the hell you want to call it. So that is extremely handy. I like to bet on the idea of putting a socket in the gas cap, because a socket means you'd have to have a separate extension cord that you have to plug one end in there, one end in there, and you constantly have to ravel it up and throw it in the trunk or something every time. This way, just pull on it, it sucks it back in, close the gas cap, you're ready to go. A couple other changes. Let me go around the other side of the car. As you can see, we now have a dash back in the car. That was a pain, and I have a lot of screws left over, but it's all in there and it's in there good. A couple changes you'll see inside. if you watch the first videos, got this button here. This controls the heater. When you turn that on, heater turns on, again, only when the car is plugged into 110 volt. The fan switch here, when you switch this over to low or the first medium, then that turns the pump on. If it's on the second medium or high, then the pump is not running, it's just the fan blowing. The other thing you can see here is down under the handbrake, I've got a timer here. And this timer is kind of the timer you'd see outside by hot tubs and stuff. Just used to turn any 110 source off. And my charger's not automatic, so I need something to turn it off. So what happens, I plug it in and I turn this to however many hours I want it to charge for, and it'll automatically turn off after that many hours. It's great because I don't have to worry about coming out in the middle of the night and turning it off or rigging anything else up. Plug it into any regular outlet, set the timer, and we're good to go. But this is the car. This is how the project's coming. It's actually moving along pretty well. Looks like a real car now that it has a dash in it again. And hopefully this weekend, I know I've been saying this for a few weekends now, but hopefully I can get some performance testing done. And I'll see what we can do for speed and what we can do for range.